I never thought love could leave me broke, not just in my wallet, but in my soul. You hear stories about people being used, but you never think it'll happen to you. Until one day, you're standing in front of a mirror, pockets turned inside out, realizing the person you trusted most drained you dry. That's where my story begins. I was just an ordinary guy. Nothing flashy, nothing special. I worked hard, kept to myself, and believed in giving my all to the people I loved. Maybe that's why she noticed me in the first place. Her smile, God, I can still see it, was the kind that made you believe you were the only man alive. And when she laughed, it felt like the world finally had some music worth listening to. At first, everything seemed perfect. We were inseparable. I thought I'd found my forever. But love has a way of blinding you to the little things, the quiet warning signs you brush off because your heart refuses to see the truth. It started small. A little money here, a little favor there. She'd look me in the eyes, place her hand on my chest, and whisper, "You're the only one I can count on." And I believed her. Over and over again, I believed. But the requests grew. They became demands. And the girl I thought was my safe place slowly turned into the storm that tore through every part of my life. My savings vanished. My plans for the future crumbled. And every time I tried to question her, she'd turn it back on me, making me feel like I was the problem. By the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. She was gone. And she left me standing there with empty pockets, a broken heart, and a silence in my chest where trust used to live. I thought that was the end of my story. I thought I'd never let anyone close again. Because once someone you love betrays you, it feels like the world has no safe corners left. But life has a twisted way of surprising you when you least expect it. And for me, that surprise came in the form of her sister. I'll never forget the first time I saw her. The way she carried herself, nothing like the woman who had left me. Her presence was softer, calmer, but there was something else too. Something that made me pause, made me wonder if maybe, just maybe, I wasn't as broken as I thought. I didn't know it then, but meeting her would change everything. Not just the way I saw love, but the way I understood myself. And yet, even as I felt that spark, that tiny flicker of hope in the darkness, I couldn't ignore one chilling thought. What if her sister had told her everything about me? Before everything fell apart, I really believed I had found the person I'd spend my life with. Her name was Lena. She was wild, unpredictable, the kind of girl who could walk into a room and pull every pair of eyes toward her. And somehow, she chose me. At least, that's what I thought. Looking back now, it wasn't love she saw in me. It was opportunity. I was steady, reliable, the kind of man who always showed up, always gave more than he had to. I mistook her excitement for affection, her constant requests for signs of trust. In reality, she was pulling strings I didn't even know were tied around me. We had been together for nearly 2 years. In that time, Lena introduced me to a side of life I'd never known. Fancy dinners, impulsive trips, nights out that bled into mornings. She made me feel alive, but all of it came with a cost, one that was slowly draining me dry. I didn't see the truth until she was already slipping away. And when she left, she didn't just walk out quietly. She left with everything. My savings, my trust, even a few lies spread around to make sure I looked like the fool, not her. It was a humiliation I carried in silence. Because how do you admit to the world that the person you loved most saw you as nothing more than a wallet? For months, I avoided everyone. Friends, family, even places that reminded me of her. The pain was heavy, but what hurt more was the emptiness, the feeling that I'd wasted years of my life on someone who never cared. And then came her sister, Mara. The first time I met her was at a small family gathering I never planned to attend. I almost didn't go, but something inside me pushed me to show up, to at least prove to myself that Lena's ghost didn't own me anymore. Mara was different from the moment I saw her. Where Lena demanded attention, Mara seemed comfortable in the background. She listened more than she spoke. She laughed softly, not loudly. And when her eyes met mine across the room, it wasn't with judgment or pity. It was with something I couldn't quite name. Over the next few weeks, I noticed things about her. She carried the same last name, but her presence felt worlds apart. There was a calmness in her, something steady, almost healing. And yet, beneath that calmness, I sensed something else, a hesitation, as if she knew more than she let on. Every time we talked, there was this unspoken weight between us, a shadow hanging in the room that neither of us dared to touch. Because if she knew what Lena had done to me, why would she even want to stand near me? But then again, why did I feel like she already did? The more time I spent around Mara, the more unsettled I became. She was kind, thoughtful, the complete opposite of her sister, but every time she smiled at me, I felt this tightness in my chest. It wasn't just attraction. It was fear. How could I let myself feel anything for her when Lena's betrayal still burned through me? And worse, what would people say if they knew? The whispers, the judgments. He lost everything to one sister, and now he's chasing the other. It sounded like a cruel joke, the kind you hear about strangers, not something you ever live yourself. But it wasn't just outsiders I worried about. It was Mara herself. Sometimes, in the middle of our conversations, I'd catch a flicker in her eyes, like she wanted to say something but swallowed it down. She asked questions no one else dared to. How I was really holding up, whether I still spoke to Lena, whether I could ever trust again. The way she asked, it felt loaded, like she wasn't just curious, but testing the edges of something she already knew. And that terrified me. Because if Mara knew the truth, if Lena had told her how much she'd taken from me, how she'd left me with nothing, then what did Mara really see when she looked at me? A man she cared for, or a broken shell her sister had left behind? I kept telling myself to stay away, to protect what little I had left of myself. But every time I tried, I found myself pulled back into her orbit. It wasn't intentional, a phone call, a family event, a chance meeting on the street. It was as if fate was weaving her into my life, thread by thread, whether I wanted it or not. And then came the night that changed everything. We were sitting across from each other in a quiet cafe. Mara had been unusually silent, stirring her coffee without taking a sip. Finally, she lifted her eyes to mine and said, almost in a whisper, "There's something I need to tell you. But if I do, you might never look at me the same way again." Her words hung in the air between us, heavier than anything I'd heard since the day Lena walked out of my life. Something I might never see her the same for. My heart thudded in my chest, and for a moment, I didn't know if I wanted to hear it or run from it. Mara's hands trembled slightly as she held her cup, her eyes darting toward the window, as if she was afraid of being overheard. I leaned closer, trying to steady my voice. "Mara, what is it?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she pressed her lips together, fighting with words that seemed too sharp to release. The silence stretched so long that I felt every second pounding in my ears. Finally, she shook her head. "Not here. Not now. That should have been the end of it. I should have let her be. But I couldn't." Curiosity and fear wrapped around me like chains. I needed to know what she was holding back, and why she looked at me with such unbearable sadness. Over the next few days, that conversation replayed in my head again and again. Every glance, every pause, every look she gave me seemed like a puzzle piece I couldn't fit together. Did it have to do with Lena? With me? With something she had done? I tried to distract myself, but it was impossible. Mara had opened a door I couldn't close, and I knew the truth was waiting on the other side, whether I wanted it or not. When I saw her again, she was distant, almost nervous, like a woman walking on the edge of a secret too dangerous to carry any longer. I couldn't take it. "You can't just leave me hanging like that," I said, my voice tighter than I intended. "If there's something I need to know, then say it. Don't protect me. Don't protect her. Just tell me." Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't look away. "You think Lena broke you," she whispered. "But you don't know half of what she's done. You don't know the truth about why she really left." My blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" Mara's hands clenched together in her lap. She looked like she was about to shatter right in front of me. Her lips parted, then closed again, as if the words were too dangerous to set free. And just when I thought she was going to tell me, she leaned back, eyes shining with fear, and said only one thing. "If I tell you, everything changes." I thought Mara's hesitation was about Lena, that maybe she was ashamed of what her sister had done to me. But when the truth finally slipped from her lips, it felt like the floor gave way beneath me. "She didn't just take your money," Mara whispered, her voice trembling. "She took it because she had to. Because if she didn't, someone else was going to make sure you paid, with more than just your wallet." I stared at her, confused. "What are you talking about?" Mara leaned in, her eyes locking onto mine with a desperate intensity. Lena wasn't acting alone. She wasn't just cruel. She was scared. There's someone else involved, someone dangerous. And if they find out I'm here with you, talking to you like this, her voice cracked, and for the first time, I saw genuine terror in her eyes. They'll come after both of us. The world seemed to tilt around me. All this time, I thought the betrayal was simple, personal. But now, it wasn't just about heartbreak or money. It was about survival. And before I could even respond, Mara said the words that froze my blood cold. They already know about us. The moment Mara said those words, they already know about us, my stomach twisted into knots. I wanted to believe she was exaggerating, but the way her voice shook told me otherwise. That night, everything came crashing down. I walked Mara home, both of us silent, the air thick with unspoken fear. But as we turned onto her street, I saw it. A shadow leaning against the lamppost, waiting. My blood ran cold. A man stepped forward. His smile was thin, his eyes darker than the night itself. "So this is him," he said, his gaze sweeping over me like I was prey. "The fool who thought Lena just left because she was bored." Mara grabbed my arm. Just don't say anything." The man chuckled. "Your money was never the point. You were a cover, a distraction. Lena knew the rules, but she broke them. And now, Mara's breaking them too." I wanted to fight, to scream, to protect her, but my body locked with fear. Then Mara did something I never expected. She stepped in front of me. "Leave him out of this," she said, her voice steady now. "If you want blood, take mine." The man's smile widened. "Brave. Just like your sister." Before I could move, a car screeched down the street. The passenger door flew open, and out stepped Lena. My heart stopped. She looked at me, then at her sister, her expression torn between rage and something almost like regret. "He doesn't know the truth," she hissed. "He never did." And just like that, the world spun again. The betrayal, the love, the danger, everything I thought I understood was shattered in one breath. Because Lena hadn't disappeared forever. She was back, and she was standing on the wrong side of the fight. For a long moment, the three of us stood frozen. Me, Mara, and Lena, caught in a web of secrets that had finally snapped open. The man at the lamppost lingered in the shadows, his smirk watching us unravel. Lena's eyes burned into me. "You don't understand," she said quickly, her words rushed, desperate. "I didn't leave because I wanted to. I left because I had to. They would have hurt you. Taking your money was the only way to make them believe I was loyal. I thought if I played along, you'd be safe." Her confession hit me like a storm. All the anger I'd carried for months suddenly collided with confusion, guilt, and something I didn't want to admit, a flicker of the love I once had for her. But then I looked at Mara, who had stood by me, who had risked everything to tell me the truth. And I realized something Lena hadn't counted on. Safety isn't built on lies. It's built on trust. The man finally stepped closer, impatient. "Touching little reunion. But this doesn't end with speeches. Someone pays tonight." I thought I was finished. But Mara, calm and steady, reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. "You're wrong," she said softly. "It already ended the moment you showed your face." Within minutes, flashing lights washed over the street. Sirens wailed, and the man's grin vanished as police cars boxed him in. Mara had tipped them off earlier, expecting this confrontation. He tried to run, but it was over before it even began. In the chaos, Lena slipped away. One moment she was there, the next she was gone, swallowed back into the shadows she'd chosen. Maybe she thought disappearing was her only way to survive. Maybe she was right. I never saw her again. What remained was Mara, the woman who had stepped into my broken world and refused to let me drown in it. She never asked me to forget Lena or to pretend the pain hadn't existed. Instead, she gave me something Lena never had: honesty. It wasn't an easy road. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. There were days when doubt whispered in my ear, reminding me of everything I had lost. But slowly, through Mara's steady presence, I realized something I'd never understood before. Love isn't about being swept away by excitement or blinded by passion. It's about finding someone who stands with you, even in the dark. Mara filled the emptiness Lena had left behind, not by replacing her, but by helping me see that I wasn't defined by the betrayal. I was defined by how I chose to move forward. And if there's one thing I'll never forget, it's this. Sometimes the person who breaks you isn't the end of your story. Sometimes, the person who helps you heal turns out to be the chapter you were meant to find all along. 43.